Hey, it's Michael Day with the Daily Merge. This is your 2-minute Merge for September 4th. We have a special report tonight on a story the whole nation is following, the Syrian refugee crisis. Now, this has been going on for quite a few years in the war-torn region. Over 4 million Syrians have fled to other countries seeking asylum. The country's population was only 18 million, so over 20% of that country has left due to the civil war going on in that region. Now, the Gulf countries are some of the richest in the region, including Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, and Bahrain, have offered zero help to the refugees. Whereas other countries, Germany, Austria, Lebanon in particular, Lebanon's accepted over 1 million refugees, even though they're a pretty ravaged country in their own right. And with a population of just 4 million, over a quarter of their total population is now refugees. They've done a lot. The rich countries in the region have done absolutely nothing, and that's certainly very, very, very troubling. Why are the rich countries doing so little and the poor ones overextending themselves? A few thousand of these refugees, in protest of the Hungarian's government lack of support, left Hungary today and started a 100-mile walk to Austria or a 300-mile walk to Germany, where they are accepting refugees. There are other options. There are countries outside of Europe, or in Europe, as well as across oceans that are accepting refugees, but obviously the distance makes that very hard. The United States is included in this conversation. Former Governor of Maryland, O'Malley, and a presidential candidate, has suggested next year we take in 65,000 refugees, which is a very ambitious goal and certainly noble if we could do it. Most other government releases and studies says that the number of 10,000 is probably more in line with what we could possibly do. We need to do something, and all countries of the world should do something. And as we're going to continue to follow this story and update you with more details on the Syrian refugee crisis. Our second story tonight, Joe Biden. There's been much speculation about a presidential run from him. He spoke for the first time publicly about that possibility today. It was a somber speech, and you could tell this decision is weighing heavily on him. He still is clearly, or apparently, grieving over the loss of his son just last year, and it looks like this decision is not easy for him. We'll pull a quote for him from that speech in reference to the possibility of running for president. Quote, "I have to be honest with you, I can't look you straight in the eye and say now that I know that I can do that." So we're going to follow that and see if he jumps into the Democratic race, but obviously it is a big decision for him. And our Whiskey Tango Foxtrot moment of the day. It's back to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is running, among other things, but on his business acumen, on his business record of being a solid businessman. A reporter for the National Journal, SV Date, did a study which had some interesting results. Now, Donald Trump his estimated inheritance, was $50 million in 1974, so that's certainly a nice chunk of change. Now, if you took $50 million and just invested it into an indexed fund, which is the absolute average, not professionally managed or anything like that, the bare average, you would have about $2 billion in that today. Donald Trump is worth about $3 or $4 billion, according to Bloomberg or Forbes, respectively. So that's pretty close to average. Now, if you look at some of its early successes, he was worth about $200 million in 1982. That invested would be about $6 billion today. In 1988, that same $200 million would be worth about $11 billion today. So it's pretty fair to say that the guy running for president on his business record is at best an average businessman. The thought that he's this self-made entrepreneur is obviously a little bit misleading. The numbers show that pretty average across the board. Now, there was one other person who was worth about $50 million in 1974. You might know his name. It's Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett today is worth about $67 billion. So if you want to compare businessman to who's successful and who's average, I think that's a pretty good way to go. That's your 2-minute Merge for today. I will be on this weekend with some episodes of the new segment, The Purge, or the Plunge, maybe it'll be The Purge. I haven't decided yet. We'll see what it is. Be back this weekend. We'll see you with the Monday Merge on Monday. Thanks so much. Have a good long weekend, guys.